Okay, so if you could have looked down from, say, a skyscraper in downtown Manila just recently, the scene would have been, well, just breathtakingly stark. A vast, swirling sea of white.
Hmm.
It stretched across the huge green lawns of Rizal Park, and then it just spilled out onto the main roads, the side streets. It basically froze a whole part of the capital city.
And this wasn't some kind of holiday celebration.
Not at all. This was a massive and I think furious public demonstration. The estimates are around 650,000 people, all protesting a corruption scandal that has become uh, staggering, deadly even.
That visual you just painted, it sets the perfect context for this deep dive.
Hmm.
We've been unpacking a stack of sources that detail this unprecedented scale of public anger.
And it seems to be about a clash, right?
It's a clash, yeah. So
Okay.
what happens when core government accountability, specifically how life-saving funds are managed, collides, and I mean violently, with the devastating reality of extreme weather in the Philippines?
So our mission today is really to get to the bottom of this. How does a corruption scandal about something as, well, crucial as flood control funds mobilize so much human capital, so much political power?
It's the slogan, isn't it?
Yeah, the slogan that unified this whole sea of people was actually pretty simple, but it really cuts to the core. Transparency for a better democracy.
And what's so fascinating here is that our sources aren't just reporting on a protest. They're giving us this crucial window into a failure of governance, where the stakes are literally life and death.
Right.
When funds that are meant to build flood walls, I mean, the very things that make the difference between surviving a typhoon and drowning,
Mm.
when that money vanishes, the issue goes way beyond just financial mismanagement.
It becomes a human tragedy.
It becomes an immediate human tragedy. And that, I think, is what drove the sheer intensity of this whole thing.
Okay, so let's unpack this groundswell of fury, because the scale, the logistics, it tells you everything you need to know about the commitment level here.
It really does.
This wasn't just a quick lunch hour demonstration. This lasted 3 consecutive days. It shut down major schools, major roads, and it required some serious planning from everyone who showed up.
And those logistics, they just speak volumes about how deep the frustration runs. I mean, we are talking about over 500,000 people, and a lot of them traveled huge distances to be there.
The sources describe people actually setting up camp on the lawns, right?
Oh yeah, sleeping under tarpaulins, bringing portable stoves, rice cookers. You see pictures of people pushing elderly relatives in wheelchairs. Whole families traveled across the country. This isn't just passive discontent. This is a sustained 3-day occupation of the capital.
And their demand was to expose the deeds.
To expose the deeds, exactly.
And this narrative of betrayal, it feels so personal and specific. It's not just some vague feeling that the government is wasteful.
No, not at all.
Our sources quote one person, Edward. He's a 20-year-old who traveled 2 hours from Batangas province. And he summed it up perfectly. He said, "There is so much corruption, our money is being taken, but the projects are never completed." And he links that theft directly to how severe the recent floods were in his community.
Edward's statement is so critical because it connects the bureaucratic theft directly to the safety of his own family. And on top of that, the sources confirm this feeling wasn't just in Rizal Park.
There was another one.
Yes, a significant secondary demonstration was happening at the same time in Quezon City, right near the very symbolic People Power Monument.
Okay, that location is crucial. For our listeners who might not be familiar with Philippine history, why is protesting right there at the People Power Monument so significant in this context?
Well, that choice of location is a very deliberate, very historical accusation. The People Power Monument, it commemorates the 1986 revolution that nonviolently overthrew the corrupt, decades-long dictatorship of Ferdinand Marcos Sr.
And the irony is,
The irony, which is not lost on anyone in Manila, is that the current president is Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the son of that deposed dictator. So when you have progressive groups and retired generals rallying at that monument now, they are sending an unmistakable signal
what's the signal?
that the government in power is, in their view, no longer acting for the welfare of the people. It's mirroring the exact sentiment that led to the original People Power Revolution.
So, the location itself is a historical call for accountability, and that takes us from the protest to the core financial scandal. This anger is pointed squarely at company owners, government officials, parliament members.
All accused of pocketing billions meant for flood mitigation. And not just for, say, shoddy work, but for work that just never even happened.
And this is where the numbers stop being academic and they become genuinely staggering.
Truly. We're talking about a systemic, engineered financial failure at the highest levels. The country's own economic planning minister suggested the loss might be as high as 70%.
70% of the public funds for flood control.
70%, yeah. Now, some senators estimate it's a bit lower, maybe around 50%, but even 50.
That's still half. I mean, that's just a complete breakdown of oversight.
It is. And the sources give us a clue as to how, and this is maybe the most shocking detail, the prevalence of ghost projects.
Host project. So what does that fraud actually look like on the ground?
Well, it's high-level collusion. It often involves phantom subcontractors, falsified documents. Essentially, funds get released based on fictitious progress reports.
So the paperwork says a project is done.
Exactly. Contractors and officials are colluding to just pay out for sites where no groundwork was ever laid. The paper trail says a dam was built or a seawall was reinforced. But if you actually go to the GPS coordinates, you find nothing. Empty land. Neglected riverbanks.
And government investigators found how many?
Over 400. More than 400 flood protection projects reported as completed, signed off on, paid for, but were entirely non-existent.
And this is the critical connection we need to make for you, the listener. The absence of these protections is immediate and deadly in a country that is just ravaged by climate events.
Yes. The Philippines has been battered by over 20 typhoons this year alone. And when those 400-plus ghost projects are missing from the map, the consequences are catastrophic. It translates directly into human cost.
Absolutely. The sources list the toll. In early November, Typhoon Kaumagi ripped through the country, killing at least 269 people.
And that's with about 100 more still missing, presumed dead. You see, the theft of these funds isn't victimless. It's an act of bureaucratic violence that leaves whole communities defenseless.
And that was only the start of it. Just days after Kaumagi, Typhoon Fenghuang hit, causing even more devastating floods. That second storm displaced a staggering 1.4 million people.
And killed another 28. These aren't just weather statistics. They're the direct, predictable consequences of infrastructure that should have been built with those stolen billions.
That emotional weight, that connection, is what drove 650,000 people into the streets. But tragedy alone doesn't sustain a rally of this size for 3 days, does it?
No, it doesn't. To really understand the political leverage here, we have to look behind the curtain at the organizational muscle that made this whole thing possible.
And that muscle belongs to the Iglesia Cristo, or the INC, a powerful and hugely influential Philippine megachurch.
The INC has a massive membership, close to 3 million people, and their role here is incredibly complex. A lot of the attendees, they cited both their personal concern over the corruption and their deep-seated obligation to the sect as the reason they were there.
So it's faith and fury.
It's faith and fury. There's a student named Leonard. He traveled from southwestern Luzon, and he summed up the INC's command structure so simply. He said, "Our leader announced a rally. It's our nature as the church to unite in the activity that our leader establishes."
So it's a powerful combination. You have personal outrage over theft, but it's amplified exponentially by organizational discipline. But the INC is more than a religious group. They wield immense political influence.
Oh, immense is the word. The INC operates with an authoritarian structure, and crucially, its members vote as a consolidated, disciplined bloc. This is key to understanding the whole national political landscape.
They're a kingmaker.
They're a kingmaker. They guarantee millions of votes, so the INC leadership has historically backed the winning president in the last 5 elections. Getting that INC endorsement is seen as a political necessity if you want the presidency.
And here's where the political maneuvering gets incredibly sharp. The INC, they endorsed the 2022 victors, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and his running mate, Sara Duterte.
But, and this is a big but, since their election, Marcos and Duterte have become feuding political rivals. And the sources confirm the INC has now thrown its immense weight behind the ladder, behind Sara Duterte.
So that shift, it transforms this huge anti-corruption protest into something else.
Into a highly potent political signal. Yes. You're seeing the weaponization of a political mandate. The INC gave them the power through its block vote, and now they're using that exact same leverage to question the competence of the administration.
So while they're outwardly protesting corruption, given their influence and this switch to Duterte, isn't this protest basically political destabilization, even if they deny it?
Well, the political outcome is certainly weakening the Marcos administration, but the INC leadership has been extremely careful to maintain a very precise distinction.
Yeah.
They need stability, but they also demand competence. And President Marcos Jr., for his part, tried to quell the outrage. He He promised officials would be arrested and charged by the end of the year, famously saying, they'll be jailed, there's no Merry Christmas for them.
But the INC's messaging, it stays very careful. The spokesperson, Edwin Zabala, he explicitly denied they were trying to topple the government.
Exactly. And their religious leader, Bienvenido Santiago Jr., he confirmed that stance directly to the crowds, making the mission very clear. He said, "We do not agree with a coup d'etat with a snap election.
We do not want the fall of the government as an institution.
What we want," he said, "is the fall of corruption. They're demanding accountability from the very people they helped elect, not the dismantling of the state itself."
So what does this all mean for the transparency movement there? The sources reveal this very clear, very potent connection. When public trust erodes over the most basic forms of safety like flood walls in a country hit by typhoons, it can mobilize these massive politically influential groups.
Regardless of their past alliances, the outrage over 400 ghost projects fuels an organized political action that no politician can afford to ignore.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it raises a pretty important question for you, the listener, to think about. Given the scale of this corruption, 50 to 70% of critical funds just gone, and the power of groups like the INC, how does the accountability process change? These groups can elect leaders, and now they're explicitly demanding the downfall of the corruption, using their own power as the leverage.
It's a powerful distinction, isn't it?
Yeah.
They want transparency, but they also want stability. They want the outcome of their vote to be honored with competence, not with theft.
And it makes you wonder, when the very mechanism that delivers political power is then weaponized against the failures of that administration, is that leverage finally enough to close the financial black hole of ghost projects?
It's a powerful force demanding change, one that might just fundamentally redefine the relationship between political power and public service.